Lewis Hamilton is probably the greatest driver to ever compete in a Formula 1 car. His dominance of the sport for the past 8 seasons while driving for the Mercedes F1 team has been astonishing. Even before he joined Mercedes, he was more than just another name on the grid, having never finished a season lower than 5th in the overall driver standings. But after losing the 2021 Formula 1 World Championship in the final race at Abu Dhabi, Hamilton's future has been a constant subject of discussion. Today, we'll look at the most likely replacements if Hamilton does quit the sport before the 2022 season. Hey motorheads, glad to see you back on this racing track. Did you get road rage and need the scenic view of Formula 1 updates to relax? Then we're ready to drive you. So put on your seatbelts and join us as we chauffeur you through today's video. But before that, be that perfect speed freak by banging into the subscribe button. Alright, we're good to go. The 2021 Formula 1 season ended in huge controversy. If you haven't heard all the details by now, then you must have been living under a rock for the last few months. Just in case you've been trying out the Fred Flintstone lifestyle recently, I'll fill you in on what you've missed out on. The final race of the 2021 season at Abu Dhabi was one of the most dramatic season finales in the history of Formula 1. Lewis Hamilton and Max Verstappen were neck and neck in the driver championship going into that race. Basically, for either of them to win, they just had to finish the race above their opponent. Of course, it couldn't be that simple though. When those two races are involved, nothing is ever simple. Decisions made by the race director Michael Massey during the race led to outrage from Formula 1 competitors, the teams who make the cars, the fans, and the journalists who follow the sport, and pretty much everyone else who's ever heard about Formula 1. These decisions played a large role in the outcome of the race, which at many times Lewis Hamilton looked to have won. On the final lap though, Max Verstappen passed Hamilton to take the lead and win his Formula 1 World Championship. Lewis Hamilton and his Mercedes team were rightly furious with the FIA, the Formula 1 governing body, for how the race played out. So much so that they were going to go to the Court of Arbitration for Sport to get the result of the race turned over. Though they eventually dropped this case, the fallout from this controversy is far from over, and the future of Lewis Hamilton's F1 career has since come under doubt. Every conversation about F1 at the moment always ends up as a discussion of whether Lewis Hamilton will leave the sport over how the Abu Dhabi race was handled. The F1 community is split over what they think will happen. Respected former F1 driver and journalist Martin Brundle has insisted that Lewis Hamilton would stay while talking to F1 show on Sky Sports. Absolutely not. I don't buy any of it, to be honest, said Brundle. I'm sure Toto has been asked by Lewis, what are you doing about this? But Formula 1 is fantastically successful for the Mercedes-Benz brand. While Lewis Hamilton is 37 years old, and we know he's driving at his peak, incredibly determined and competitive. He'll be back. But some people aren't so sure. A recent BBC report said that Lewis would only return for the 2022 season if the FIA took significant action after Max Verstappen's controversial win in Abu Dhabi. In the aftermath, Hamilton has disappeared from the public eye, making it hard for anyone to work out what the 7-time F1 world champion will do. The word from Hamilton's camp, though, is that he has lost trust with the governing body and will wait for the results of the inquiry before committing to a return to the championship. The BBC adds that some senior F1 insiders have growing concerns that the governing body is not taking on board how credible the threat is, with the first of 2 pre-season tests set to get underway on the 23rd of February. Whatever the outcome of the F1 investigation, Mercedes won't be sitting idle with the first pre-season testing starting so soon. Toto Wolff, the Mercedes team boss, is not known for being unprepared, and here at F1 Reverse, we've been trying to figure out what his backup plan might be. If Hamilton does quit the sport now, getting a driver with World Championship winning credentials will be extremely difficult, as decisions about driver lineups are normally made in the preceding season. But we think that there may be a few options open to Toto if he needs them. The first and potentially most likely option would be to go for someone with championship winning pedigree. Someone who could bring measured experience to synergize with George Russell's youth. Someone who knows better than anyone how Christian Horner and the Red Bull team operate. Have you guessed who it might be yet? If you said Sebastian Vettel, then you are spot on. The 4-time Formula 1 world champion drove for Red Bull for 6 years. Before that, spent 3 years at their development team Toro Rosso. The 34-year-old German driver has had to put up with a poor Aston Martin car last season and hasn't been shy about voicing his displeasure. When asked if the 2021 campaign was what he signed up for with Aston Martin, Vettel replied, "Yes and no. I think the team's great. I really enjoy working with the team, and I think it's been a big change, obviously. But no, in terms of results, obviously. The whole team and myself, we were hoping for more. I think we got hurt quite badly by the regulation changes as the team had a great car in 2020 but not in 2021, so we did what we could," he said. Following Aston Martin's poor results in 2021, team principal Otmar Snafhauser was let go by the team owner Lance Stroll. Otmar was one of Vettel's closest allies on the team and was a large part of why Vettel joined the team in the first place. With Otmar now gone from the team, Ralf Schumacher, uncle of current Formula 1 driver Mick Schumacher, thinks that Vettel could be tempted by a change of team. That would, of course, be a possibility, said Schumacher, especially since there has now been a change in personnel at Aston Martin, which might not be quite as ideal for Sebastian. Because I think Otmar Safhauser and that was a good team. Sebastian's contract with Aston Martin is up at the end of the 2022 season anyway, but if Lewis Hamilton's departure from the sport opens up a seat at Mercedes, he might just leave before then. Someone else we think might have a shot at a vacant F1 seat is someone who couldn't be more different from the seasoned veteran Sebastian Vettel. This driver has an outstanding pedigree, but failed to make an impact in his rookie season in F1, having been stuck in the field's slowest car. Nikita Mazepin, I hear you say? Ha, you must be joking. We're of course talking about Mick Schumacher. The son of Formula 1 legend Michael Schumacher had a tough first season in F1 racing on a Haas team that publicly stated it would not spend money developing its 2021 car, and was instead looking ahead to 2022. Mick is young at only 22 years old, but he's also as passionate and as hungry to win as his father was before him. George Russell is taking the seat of Valtteri Bottas at Mercedes this season, and his story in F1 began very much the same way as Mick Schumacher's has. George also struggled in his first F1 season, being in a Williams car that regularly finished dead last, just as the Haas has this season. The big difference between the two at the moment though is that George has put the time in. He's completed 60 F1 races to Mick's 22, including a 9th place finish while standing in for Lewis Hamilton on the Mercedes team in 2020. While Mick may still be a few seasons behind George Russell, he's spoken to media about the subject and handled the questions like a seasoned pro. When asked whether seeing George Russell's success gives him confidence about his chances moving forward, he said, "My focus is on next year. Everything else is too far away. I have to perform well next year first. If that's the case, then I can start thinking about looking further into the future." Mick may sound like he's happy where he is right now, but if Mercedes come knocking with their history as serial winners, it will be hard for him to say no. What are your thoughts on Lewis Hamilton's potential successors? Is it too soon for Mick, or should Mercedes take a chance on him before another team does? Does Sebastian Vettel have another F1 World Championship in him given the opportunity? Or is all of this just completely unnecessary because you believe that Lewis Hamilton will be back for 2022? Whatever your thoughts, let us know in the comment section down below. And on your way, don't forget to give us a thumbs up and hit that notification bell to be sure you don't miss out on any of our content. Until we see you next time, drive safe and bye bye.